Hello, welcome back. My name is Ari, and today I want to review my 22 books to read in 2022 with you and see if I've read any of these. For the most part, I am really good with challenges and things like that. Like if I say like I'm gonna read 22 books in 2022, or these are my 5-star predictions, I get like 80% or higher, sometimes 100% of them done. That is not the case with the 22 books to read in 2022. I did awful on this. So if you guys want to see me fail a challenge, stay tuned. And I'm gonna do 23 books in 2023, even though I did awful at 2022. So let's jump into this and see what I got. Hello, welcome back. I'm Ari, and today I am talking about the 22 books that I want to read in 2022. So first I have The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. Alright, the first one, we're starting out strong with The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, which I didn't read. I didn't even pick this up. And we have The Furies by Katie Lowe. Next up, The Furies by Katie Lowe. Nope. Didn't pick it up. I own it. I see it right over there. I'm gonna read it this year. I hope. Maybe. But I didn't read it today. Then I have Ink and Bone by Rachel Caine. Ink and Bone by Rachel Caine. Hey, I read that one. And I read the second book in that series. Good job, me. This is like super generic YA dystopian, which I really liked. I liked the first book, didn't care so much for the second book. I've got all the rest of the books in the series. Eventually I'll finish it out. Next is A Lesson in Thorns by Sarah Simone. Next up, A Lesson in Thorns by Sarah Simone. I read this. It was okay. Then I have The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth. The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth. I didn't read this. I didn't read it. I got no excuse. Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I read this one. I didn't really like it. It was okay. Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I read this too. I didn't like it. After that, I have To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. I did read this. I love Becky Chambers. This is a very good book. I recommend anything and everything Becky Chambers writes. Next up, I have Disfigured by Amanda LeDuc. Disfigured by Amanda LeDuc. I didn't read this. I've been meaning to read this for like 2+ years and just have not gotten around to it. Next up from that is No Visible Bruises by Rachel Louise Snyder. No Visible Bruises by Rachel Louise Snyder. Didn't read this one either. After that, on a lighter note, I've got Desperate Measures by Katie Roberts. Desperate Measures by Katie Roberts. I did read this. Good job, me. It's smut. I've got nothing other than this. It's just smut. Next up, Dig by A.S. King. I've heard nothing but how weird this is, and y'all know I like me some weird. Dig by A.S. King. Didn't get to this one at all. Next up is The Beauty by Aaliyah Whiteley. The Beauty by Aaliyah Whiteley. Also did not read this. Then The Book of Coli? I have no idea how to pronounce this. I'm gonna say Coli by M.R. Cavey or Carvey. Again, I can't read if that is a V or an R. The Book of Coli by M.R. Carey. Didn't read it. Didn't even pick it up. Next up is Tender is the Flesh by Augustine Bazterrica. Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. I read this. I didn't like it at all. Next up is Brothel by Stephanie Wydovich. Brothel by Stephanie Wydovich. Didn't read this. I really like this cover, and it's poetry. I should have been able to get to this one. It would be so easy. Next up is Blood Countess by Lana Popovic. Blood Countess by Lana Popovic, I think. Didn't read it. Nah. Didn't read this one. Next up is Malice by John Gwynne. Malice by John Gwynne. I didn't read this. And this one, like, I never got the energy to pick this up because it's so thick, and I was just really into very, very short books all year this year. Next up is Screaming for Pleasure by S.A. Bradley. Screaming for Pleasure by S.A. Bradley. This one's very interesting because I read like a ton of nonfiction horror, like nonfiction about horror stories this year, but not the one that was actually on my list. What am I doing? Next up is a classic, and it's The Custom of the Country by Edith Wharton. The Custom of the Country by Edith Wharton. I started this. I didn't finish it. I kind of forgot about it until I just saw it right now. So I probably finished that. Next up is Ball of Fire by Stephen Canfer. Ball of Fire by Stephen Canfer. I did read this. I don't recommend it. He talks about like a nude picture of Lucille Ball that she multiple times throughout her life stated that she never once published, and then he put the fucking picture in the book, and I thought that was just rude. So go with a different Lucille Ball biographer who's a little bit more respectful of her wishes. The final book on this list, number 22, is Killers of the Flower Moon by David Graham. Is Killers of the Flower Moon by David Gran. Killers of the Flower Moon, I started it and haven't finished it yet. So, do the 2 that I started and didn't finish count as like half a book? Maybe. And those were all the books that were on my 22 books to read in 2022. I read 8 of them. I read 8 and not 9 if we count the half books. I didn't even read half of them. Am I gonna do a list for 2023? You betcha. It's coming up tomorrow. Am I gonna do any better reading any of these books? Probably not. But we can only go up from here, right? Right? See you tomorrow.